What's up, babe? We've spoken before about D&D species that were published but never actually released into the game, but that is top shelf gear. The real underground stuff is way more mysterious. These are the lost races that Wizards of the Coast will never let you play. They existed in previous editions of the game, but for one reason or another, they could never be published today. So, that's what I did. Let's start with some lost species which are problematic for different reasons. Talk about what's actually really good, fix the, bad stuff, and be left with badass playable species you can use. The Vashar. Vashar are a species introduced in the Book of Vile Darkness, and they kind of fill the role of traditional orcs or drow in D&D. They are straight up evil. You're born in anger and pain. You understand only hate, selfishness, and greed. And because 'twas a different time, Vashar got up to all sorts of activities that if I mentioned them, this channel would get smashed with a banhammer like it's YouTube whack-a-mole. I won't go into it, but you can imagine. Seeing as WotC have steered away entirely from any type of evil species, and the ick factor of some of their lore, and the fact that it's basically impossible to roleplay a character who only understands hate, selfishness, and greed in a collaborative party dynamic, Vashar are never coming back. However, there are some really interesting elements to the Vashar that are worth preserving. They are a species obsessed with deicide, the act of killing gods. This is a group of people who want to murder the gods that created them, and this hatred of the gods is strong enough to make Vashar work together, even if they are, by the law, rotten to the core. That's a badass concept for a society of people. So I threw these guys in the pot and cooked up something that preserves that juicy flavor while frying off the stuff that's cringe or overly restrictive. Presenting the 5e Vashar. Many compassionate gods create life in their own image, but what happens when a malevolent god does the same? This is the tale of the Vashar, a species of humanoids birthed by the hand of a tyrannical deity. The influence of their dark creator eternally whispers at the back of every Vashar's mind, but some resist. Granted, many Vashar surrender to these impulses, acting out the machinations of their creator, but those that fight resist the powers that would sway them to wickedness. Such Vashar are dedicated to expunging evil wherever they see it. They harbor the ultimate aim of slaying the god that created them. It may take millennia, but brave Vashar take up the challenge gladly. The freedom to live with joy and love is worth fighting for. But okay, we get it, cute lore. Let's talk actual mechanics. Oh, son of a beach! Don't say that word in the office, man. Beach, I said, like a tree. It's not a swear word, you jackass. I heard you. Why are you making tree puns? Because I'm reading Son of Oak. So it's not a beech tree, it's an oak tree. It's a comic book, actually, teaching me how to play Legend in the Mist. But you're notoriously broke. Yeah. It's free. Free? Absolute free. PC Gamer called it the cleverest way of teaching you the rules I've ever seen. So it's a free-to-play graphic novel, choose your own adventure that also teaches you how to play Legend in the Mist, the game that won the N-World poll for the most anticipated TTRPG of 2025, beating out both Daggerheart and Cosmere RPG. Polygon named it one of the best TTRPGs they've played in 2024. A rustic fantasy-inspired setting. Wheel of Time meets Lord of the Rings meets Princess Mononoke. Is that the game where they have the might system, allowing players of different power levels to exist in the same party in a balanced way? Sort of a Gandalf and Frodo situation? Yeah, and it's so easy to learn because you just play through the comic by Son of a Bitch. Son of Oak. Son of Oak, right. Yeah, Son of Oak. And it's out right now? Yeah, you can get the PDF right now, or you can pre-order the physical book, and it's so easy to learn to play because anyone can just use the comic book to learn the rules. Why are you crying? It's just really good, and it's easy to use, and you can play solo or in a group. And you can play without a GM, right? Like, everyone can be a player in this system. Yeah, it's a slam trunk. Right, whatever. I guess I'll just play the free graphic novel adventure. And get the PDF from sonofabitch.com. Sonofoak.com. Right, yes, sonofoak.com. Legend in the Mist. As a Vashar, you have the following traits. Ability score increase, charisma goes up by 2, and constitution by 1. your size is medium, your creature type is humanoid, your walking speed is 30 feet, and you speak common and one other language of your choice. I chose charisma as the main stat here because I'm assuming most player characters will be Vashar who have thrown off the shackles of mental domination. Your sense of self is going to be very high. Of course, if you're using the background system from 2024 D&D, this is irrelevant, but I really like ability score increases tied to your species. It just tells you a bit more about that group of people, and anytime game mechanics meets storytelling, perfect. Okay, and now for the fun features. Heretic Soul. Either by gift of your creator or a steely determination to wreak vengeance upon them, you are uniquely inured to the magic of the gods. Choose radiant or necrotic damage, you resist the chosen type. For a god killer race, this makes a lot of sense. Then we have Diabolical Gift. Vashar were created by an evil deity and imbued with the power to enact its vicious will on the multiverse. When you reach level 3, you gain one Eldritch Invocation of your choice from the Diabolical Gifts table, or you can roll randomly. You ignore any prerequisites for your chosen invocation. If your chosen invocation allows you to cast a spell, Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma is your spellcasting modifier for it. Choose when you gain this trait. This is a big feature. First of all, sue me, I love the ability to roll randomly for your abilities. It just adds that variance and chaos that D&D should be all about. Of course, you can just choose whatever invocation on the list you want that fits your vision for your character. Free mage armor, swim speed, silent image roleplay shenanigans, or you can just go crazy casting the jump spell every single turn. Have fun with it. Finally, I love how this is sort of a mirror to the regular human. They get a free origin feat at level 1. Well, Vashar were originally sort of evil humans, so they get an evil twist on that idea. A free Eldritch Invocation. You also get Unshackled Will. Your freedom from outside influence is not given. It is earned and kept by your desire to live freely. You have advantage on saving throws to avoid or end the charmed and frightened conditions. And finally, we have Divine Impetus. The power of the Vashar's creator flows through you, even if you resist their influence over your mind. You have proficiency in the religion and the stealth skills. It makes sense that a species so intimately tied to their divine originator would have proficiency in the religion skill, and stealth sort of plays into that role they had to sow discord across the multiverse. Of course, you overthrew that impetus, but the innate talent remains for you to use in whatever ways you see fit. And I would play the bejesus out of one of these guys. The idea of a character subverting the forces of destiny to do good, despite an external power pressuring them to do evil, is badass. Plus, the drive to resist the call of tyrants is something we can explore in parallel to real life. We all know bastards across history and into the modern day who do everything they can to stir up hatred between normal people to further their own power. In that way, the Vashar of 5e parallel struggles we face today, fighting for freedom of thought more likely than you might think in the 21st century. Or you could see the Vashar as a metaphor for fighting through negative thoughts and feelings. They pursue a course of freedom and happiness against a very literal demon within their own mind, in the belief that it gets better, not just for them, but for their children and for future generations. Or you could just be evil, that is an option, and if the GM wants an evil faction as part of their storytelling, these fellas fit fantastic. And that is the Vashar. There's a free PDF on the Patreon with all the rules, along with those for the next species we're talking about. This is a species which is fine in terms of lore, but can never be made for 5e because the fundamental idea is way too crazy for the 5e mechanics to work with. Let's talk about the Dvati. So the Dvati were introduced for 3.5 edition in 2006 in the Dragon Compendium, and they first appeared back in 2nd edition in Dragon Magazine. And the 3.5e version comes with a disclaimer right there on the page. Warning. The Dvati introduce a radical new addition to the rules, as this race allows you to play as a pair of twins. The rules are balanced against the core races, but this type of creature has no precedent in D&D. And there you have the main draw of this species. Dvati are one soul split across two bodies. And that warning is right. This species gives you two bodies to use, and making this balance within the 5e rules was brutally difficult. Get ready for some meaty ass mechanics, but it is worth it because these guys are awesome. As far as the lore goes, Dvati are a peaceful species but capable warriors. Many twins practice fighting against each other and act in perfect synchronicity in combat. Dvati also make great diplomats. Where there's a conflict to be resolved, each twin takes a different side and argues their case impartially. They smooth over disagreements and bring people together. They are generally very well liked. But with this species, the most interesting part is, how on earth do you play a creature with two bodies in D&D 5e without it being the most overpowered thing ever? The official rules won't tell you, but I can. As a Dvati, you have the following traits: ability score increase, wisdom +2, dexterity +1. Creature type, you are humanoid. Size, you have two identical bodies, each of which are medium. Your speed is 30 feet, and you speak common and one other language of your choice. Wisdom makes sense as the primary stat for these peacekeeping negotiators, and I feel like dexterity is on point too. I like to imagine them flipping around a lot in combat, being very hard to track, swapping places, kind of fighting like Yoda. I should add that I'm including the ability score increases in the full understanding that you're probably using Tasha's customized origin feature and replacing them with whatever you want. You can think of these as just like the typical Dvati ASIs. Okay, and now for the big feature: dual form. Dvati are one soul split across two bodies. Your bodies share the same hit points, temporary hit points, class levels, feats, and ability scores. If you fall to 0 hit points, both bodies fall unconscious. If one body dies, its twin falls unconscious and cannot wake up until the other body is returned to life. A Dvati body left alive without its twin perishes quickly, unable to eat, drink, or defend itself. In combat, your bodies draw on the same soul as a source of energy. They share the same turn in combat and can each move up to your movement speed. At the start of your turn, you decide which body takes an action and a bonus action that turn, and only one body can take a reaction each round. If an effect, like the haste spell or action surge, grants you an additional action, you choose the body that gets the additional action. And if you take the attack action and you have multiple attacks, you can split those attacks between your two bodies. If an effect targets one of your bodies, only that body is affected. For example, if someone casts the fly spell on one of the twins, the other twin doesn't also gain a flying speed. If an effect affects both bodies at the same time, like a dragon's breath weapon or someone casting mass cure wounds targeting both twins, you choose which twin is affected and the other one isn't. If that effect requires a saving throw, you only roll once. So if you're both caught in a red dragon's fire breath, you only make one save and you only take the damage once. An exception occurs when an effect imposes the charmed, frightened, exhaustion, or unconscious conditions on you. Those conditions affect both bodies, so if one of you is charmed by a creature, the other is also charmed by the same creature. If a spell requires concentration, both bodies have to concentrate on that spell, and if one body casts a spell with a range of self, it affects them, not their twin. For example, if one of your bodies casts Misty Step, they have to be the one to teleport. The same applies for other effects that affect the self. If you drink a potion of invisibility or use the Wild Shape class feature, the body that performed the action is the one that undergoes the transformation. Woo! That is a lot. But to summarize, yes, there are two of you, but you take the same amount of actions in combat as other players, and you're running off the same pool of hit points. However, you get the advantage of being able to move the bodies independently and position them strategically on the battlefield. You can split your extra attack between both bodies, and you can even give each body different gear and weapons, though you share the same attunement slots. The idea of a Blade Singer Dvati, where one is dual-wielding short swords and the other one is staying back with hands free to cast spells, is badass. You are more at risk of area of effect damage types, like Dragon's Fire Breath, because they only need to hit one of you to damage you. But you're also better against single target debuffs, because if one body gets paralyzed, for an example, the other one can still act. The exception, of course, are things that affect your mind, or they affect your general energy level. If you're charmed or frightened or gain a point of exhaustion or fall unconscious, even if the triggering effect only targeted one of you, it is affecting you both. Okay, so that feature is so big and so transformative that, kind of like creatures that have a fly speed in D&D, you don't want to give this species a bunch of extra stuff on top. That feature alone is almost enough to cover the entire species, but there is a little room for some extra spice. You have the shared soul trait, so your mind has access to the sensory information of both twins at the same time. Each body accesses the same thoughts, allowing you to communicate across any distance telepathically, even planes of existence. You also get dual perspective, which gives you proficiency in the persuasion skill. This just works really nicely with their lore. And finally, you get helpful bond. Your two bodies are able to act in perfect synchronicity, although it requires focus to do so. You can take the help action as a bonus action, and if the creature you are helping is your twin, they can roll an additional 1d4 and add the results to their ability check or attack roll. You can take this bonus action a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses upon finishing a long rest. Helping as a bonus action a couple of times a day isn't crazy or anything, but it helps play into that two bodies, one mind fantasy that the Dvati are really all about. When a species is this different to everything else in the game, it can be hard to evaluate the power level. When I made this, I looked at the mechanics and I was like, is this just trash? And then I was like, wait, no, maybe this is insanely broken. Honestly, after playtesting, I can tell you that it's pretty good. Dvati mostly shine outside of combat because there are tons of awesome roleplay shenanigans you can pull with identical twins and spells that you cast only affecting one of you. The only thing is, like, it'd be cool if maybe two players could play a Dvati. Like, each player is controlling a separate twin. It's a cool idea, but it would require a complete rework of the species, and I just don't have time to do a whole nother version of this. Just kidding! Here's the two-player Dvati. These rules are designed for two players at the table who each agree to play a separate twin of the same Dvati as their player character. If you do this, each character has the following traits instead of the usual traits for a Dvati. Wisdom +2, Dexterity +1, 30 feet movement speed, 6 feet tall, humanoid creature type, you can speak 2 languages that both players agree on. And now we get to the fun stuff, which is quite different to when a single player is playing two bodies. Dvati are one soul and mind split across a dual form. Your body has its own game statistics, including class levels, hit points, temporary hit points, ability scores, feats, and attunement slots. You each roll separately for initiative and you take your own turn in combat. However, your life force is tied to that of your twin. If your twin falls unconscious, you gain 1 point of exhaustion. You lose any exhaustion gained by this effect if your twin gains at least 1 hit point. If your twin dies, you gain 1 exhaustion level at the start of each of your turns to a maximum of 5. This exhaustion cannot be removed until your twin is returned to life. So essentially, if your twin dies, you can keep on trucking for a couple of rounds, but you wear down very fast and eventually fall unconscious upon reaching 5 points of exhaustion. You then cannot wake up until your twin is resurrected, so take care of each other. You might have noticed that this feature is very flavorful, but it's actually only downside for people playing two-player Dvati. Don't panic. Yes, you are more vulnerable because you've got to look out for someone else in combat, but the rewards are there. One such reward is shared soul. You can communicate telepathically with your twin across any distance, even planes of existence. You can see and hear through their senses by closing your mind to your own, no action required, and you can return to your own senses at any time. Additionally, if you cast a spell with a target of self while your twin is within 30 feet of you, you can choose whether that spell affects you or them. And now we are cooking with gas. Because you are basically two characters now, you can do some really creative, wacky stuff with this. A druid Dvati, whose twin is a wizard and casts Tenza's transformation, while the druid is wild-shaped, gives you a sword-slinging bear. That is amazing. This is a great feature that adequately rewards two players building their entire characters around each other. You also get dual perspective. You have proficiency in one of the following skills of your choice: insight, investigation, persuasion, or perception. Because we've split the Dvati across two players and we don't want to force people to double up on the same skills, it makes sense to let them choose one lore-relevant skill proficiency. Maybe one of you picks insight, the other picks perception, and boom, you've got a couple of bases covered. Once more, you get helpful bond, and it's the exact same as before. Bonus action, take the help action a couple of times per day, and if the person you're helping is your twin, they can add an additional 1d4. And finally, we have one more feature to really reward this teamwork-themed species: synchronicity. If your twin takes the help action while within 10 feet of you, you can use your reaction to make a single weapon attack or unarmed strike. You can do this a number of times per long rest, equal to your proficiency bonus. Boom! Another feature that rewards building and fighting together. And of course, it follows on from the helpful bond feature. Your twin helps you as a bonus action, and you use a reaction to immediately attack. Rogues are gonna love this one. And yes, I know 2 or 3 reaction attacks per day isn't that much, and yes, Order Clerics can do the same thing from level 1, but remember, both players get this ability. So it's actually 4 reaction attacks split between 2 players across the day, or 6 once you reach level 5, and that is really good. It is one hell of an investment for 2 players to play the same Dvati. You have to be really careful about protecting each other, and there are a lot of risks, but the mechanical rewards are there. But more importantly, the storytelling potential is fantastic. What if the twins get into a fight? What if one of them gets captured? What if you let one of your twins get captured to lead the rest of the party to the dungeon? What if one of you is a warlock and one of you is a cleric and both of your gods hate each other? Oh, the drama! Both the Vashar and the Dvati are fully made and ready to play completely for free in 5e. You can grab them as a simple PDF document on Patreon. It's just the core mechanics for free on there. And if you like all this stuff, you gotta check out the stuff I release monthly on Patreon. There you'll find new species, subclasses, feats, spells, rules expansions, and ready-to-play adventures. And if you sign up today, you get the past 3 months completely for free and a bonus issue. That is over 200 pages of content immediately. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, check out other videos on the channel, and yeah, that's all I got. I'll see you next time.